Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 79 of ChatDPS. And it's myself and the two Adams again. Nick, unfortunately, can't join us this week. Hopefully, we'll see him again next week. Before we launch into today's pod, we'll be touching on a few AI stories. Just wanted to give Messrs. Green and Cunningham a little bit of a chance to talk about the Realms of Cyber conference, which is coming up this week, later on. I think it's a Thursday. Is that the 27th, 28th?
Thursday the 27th.
Thursday the
27th at the Powerhouse in Brisbane.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
All right, let's start.
Let's go.
Yeah, so both Adam Cunningham and myself have the esteemed honour of being MCs of the event. We are kicking off about 8:30. Keynote speaker is the Honourable former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. And then it's just rapid fire 15-minute conversations from some of the industry's best thought leaders around the 6 realms of cyber, which is land, sea, air, space, biological, and cognitive. If I stuffed that up, that would have been bad. Did I get it right, Adam? And I've got the easy job. I get the main stage. Adam actually has to... He has to MC the sessions whilst everyone's trying to scramble for food. And he gets the coolest stage, which we call the turbine platform. So, Adam, tell us about your gig.
I'm very fortunate. I get to be right at the center of everything in between the two stages for the OT side of things and the main stage that Adam's on. So it's a bit of like a lunch and learn with a few talks that will be happening within that area. I get to entertain for a little while and crack some jokes and introduce some great speakers and keep everyone's attention whilst the other stages get all set up for a few more. We'll be right across the way from the attack drones, which is always good. I have asked if I'm allowed to get a remote control. If people aren't paying attention, we can just a little zap. I don't know if they'll approve it or not. But no, it'll be a great day out. We've got some fantastic speakers, so it really will be good.
And the rumor has it that they're going to try and fly drones at me on the main stage. So I've been practicing and limbering up. I've got my limbo skills. Well, I'm not very good. I'm not very flexible, but it could be entertaining.
I expect Matrix-like movements from you.
That's what. Yeah, I've been watching it for inspiration.
Yeah.
I actually had to lock off my chair so I don't fall off it when I did that.
So just quickly, guys.
Before we move on, I will say one thing very quickly. It is the only place that I have been to in the industry where you have an open dialogue with an ex-prime minister and you can ask questions. We're actually going to have a Q&A.
That's great. So, Powerhouse in New Farm Park this Thursday, 27th of August, Brisbane. How many tickets are left?
Last check was 20.
Not many. Yes.
To get in.
Not many.
Yeah.
So do Google search it.
Hopefully see you there. Okay. All right. That's the shameless plug over with. So let's talk about some of the things in the news this week. And one of the things that caught our attention, and maybe we'll get Adam Cunningham to kick off, is this article which was on Runtime Wire, which looked at Anthropic's Project Parker. Do you want to have a little talk about that one, Adam Cunningham, just to sort of give us a bit of an overview? Because go for it.
No. It's just interesting at the moment. So we're actually giving access to our AI agents now. We're giving just an unimaginative amount of access previously, and this just goes to every time we have this new advance in the industry and technology, we seem to forget the past a little bit. So now we've got like ChatGPT that's connecting in with Apple Messages, and we've got Anthropic has Project Parker, which is utilizing agents to capture a whole bunch of different things from your audio through to running work on working agents on your machine without asking for user approval, all kinds of things. We're giving this almost administrative access to an LLM that can do whatever it wants, whenever someone asks it or doesn't ask it to do something. And I just find it amazing that this has moved so quickly, and the basic tenets just of governance alone have been left to the wayside let alone any other controls around, oh, how do we protect against injection? All of these attacks that you get all the time in every other system. And we always think about hardening. But then this is moving so fast that hardening is something that's happening 2 revisions ago and not now. It's just a really interesting point. So I brought this one up because I don't know the answer outside of proactive good governance to keep up with all of this.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's difficult too, because do you remember when like AWS made it really easy to spin up a cloud instance with a credit card? Well, now we don't even need that because people can bring what we call shadow AI. They bring their own AI in if we don't allow them to use the corporate AI. And now you've got data flying everywhere. And the difference was a cloud bucket could be found and shut down, but the data is now out there if it gets sent. So I'm with Adam. Like, I think basic governance sometimes goes out the window. And the challenging part of it is a lot of these decisions, well, pretty much most of these decisions will get made on the fly by users, and the security team and the IT teams inside organizations find out way too late. It is happening at alarming pace. And if you look at the capabilities of these things, it's happening at alarming pace. Like anytime I'm looking up research on anything AI now, it's like I'll go to YouTube channels or I'll go to the latest stuff that's coming out in X or look at what's coming out in any of our feeds. And if it's more than 3 days old, I'm pretty much just blowing past it because it's going to be outdated. And then for us as security people, it's like, well, how do we keep up with that kind of governance? And it all comes down to culture, right, Adam? Nodding furiously.
Look, it's a really interesting point to be in, right? At the moment, we're only just, I think, as an industry, we're only just got to the point culturally in most businesses where talking about security and security risk and incidents is no longer a swear word. So to get on top of AI and show, this is the old adjective of how do you show security is actually adding value, if it's slowing down the process to add value. And I personally think there's a right way. Me personally, in my work, I look at the governance side of things. Is this the correct direction to get us to where it is that we're going? And if it is, then we look at how do we get there safely? How do we educate? How do we build? And then we push on as fast as we have to.
Yeah. So I'll just say, I can't remember if I mentioned at the beginning. So Project Parker is not public. So it's something that Anthropic is working on in the background. In this particular article, they've picked up what it is that it's supposed to do in terms of automating workflow and using agents to do that. But it sounds like it's something that they're still working on in the background in relation to launching. I guess the other thing that we've talked about in the past is that essentially within the security industry, we've spent the last 30 years creating all of this governance, controls, layers, protections, and suddenly AI comes along in this form, LLMs, agents, and it seems as though we've just tossed the last 30 years out of the window. And I mean, just on that kind of bigger picture level, what's going on? Why is it that suddenly everyone just seems to have gone completely mad, and we're just completely ignoring the last 30 years of learnings, and we're just it's like the Wild West. Any thoughts about what's going on there?
I'm going to blame the media. But in not a bad way. But
social media.
So the thing about AI, especially like when we talk about LLMs specifically, there is this promise that everyone has built in to become reality, which is if you use it, you will be 10 times as efficient. And it's starting to fray a little this narrative. There's big businesses now that have let go of multiple devs, for example, right? And then they've run up and a whole bunch of different agents. Those agents are now costing them $500,000 each a year. And they realized that they got 12 of those agents, and they're now doing the work of the one dev for $140,000 a year. And they're like, this actually isn't worth it. So it's only just being tested now. So there was some very big promises made that the echo chamber of social media and the classic media have been propagating around the world that makes people think that this is the correct thing and this is exactly where we're going. And this will happen no matter what. As soon as you use it, you will be 10 times more efficient. And not taking into consideration the learning, the infrastructure that goes behind it, the rules you have to make, the changes within your business so that you can govern it. All of these things. And then so what people have done is they've come in with the technology first. And now they're going back to, oh crap, we need all of these controls because we're an enterprise and we have risk and we have shareholders and we have needs. And ultimately, I think that's what's happened. Everyone has jumped on the bandwagon very quickly. And it's because it was so accessible at home. So it became normalized really quickly because you had ChatGPT at home and it became your counselor and it became your physician and it became your trainer. And everyone then had trust in us because of that. So I think that's where the social media echo chamber came in, and then everyone just ran with it.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Adam Green, before we move on to the next story?
Yeah, so I said it before. I'm going to reiterate it. It feels like cloud all over again, except the adoption cycle is even faster. And it's interesting what Adam said, social media echo chamber telling us you'll be 10 times more efficient. Yeah, but is the answer. So like I had to hold back anything production ready for ages so I could, like the learning cycles were huge. And now I'd actually say sometimes I find that I can be 10 times more efficient. Yes. Other times I'm like, I just wanted to do one thing. And now I've gone in loops for an entire day because it's gone and found something that it's decided is important to fix. And so like I was trying to do something with my speaking website, and all I was trying to do was put our latest podcast episodes onto my speaking website so that you could see the latest podcast episodes stripe across it. While it was there, needless to say, it was 3 a.m. and I'm there rocking away on a boat and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go to bed. It was 5 hours of work that I just needed to I had the links copied and pasted to drop into GitHub to push through the next thing. And then 5 hours went by because the LLM decided it wanted to go on a witch hunt. So it's not going to be, and this is like, you're talking about people who are actually, pretty capable with what we're doing. Imagine what that's going to do in the hands of your average employee who's like trying to figure things out on the fly. So I do caution, and again, it's about the cloud thing. I do caution it's going to be cheaper and we're going to be faster and we can spin up all these services. How many organizations are now what we call repatriating back into data centers because they've realized cloud wasn't the be all and end all, and they lost a bit of control of incident response. And now we're trying to go back to the way that things were. I think that we need to approach the AI stuff, like the AI governance needs to be approached from the ground up in every organization. It's just a case of catching up. And I unfortunately think a lot of organizations need to be a bit burnt before they'll pay attention.
Yeah. Sounds like history repeating. I feel all kind of Matthew McConaughey and True Detective, time is a flat circle. And we're just going to keep repeating the same. Anyway, we should move on. So the other article that we had a look at was around Grok, and somebody has come up with a particular attack which they used on Copilot first, but they also used a similar attack on Grok as well, which is Elon Musk's LLM enterprise, and basically were able to trick that model into stealing user chats and other personal information. And Adam Cunningham, you mentioned prompt injection before as a sort of a key attack vector on these models. Do you want to maybe have a little chat about what this is all about and tell us about the risks of prompt injection? What's that all about?
This is a lovely segue from last week. Last week, we talked about a new attack vector because of vibe coding, where people are stealing the API keys for your Claudes and then using your Claude to do bad things. This is kind of like the next level. And I'll talk about how it works. So very quickly, what they've done is they've decided, hey, there's loads of controls now. If you put in something that's known to be malicious, you want to do some bad, the LLM will say, no, that's bad. You can't do that. So they went, all right, how do we get around this? And someone came up with a fantastic idea. And basically what they did was they took the bad command and they encrypted it. And then they pointed to a website that had the encryption key and all about how the encryption works and how to decrypt it. And then they simply put it into the LLM. The LLM looked at the site, figured out how to change it, changed it, and ran the code anyway once it decrypted. It's a fantastically effortless attack that works on all of them at the moment. We have a fantastic producer who doesn't come onto the screen very often, Charlie, and his favorite person, Elon. This story came from users seeing it being used in the wild on Grok specifically, and it's another one of those things where I'm into, because coming from pen testing, I'm in two brains. There's one part of my brain that's like, "Whoa, that's very clever. I like that." Another part of my brain that was like, "Can you guys just like enjoy time with your family and fucking stop?"
Yep. I've watched a few live demos or like demos run back of some of the stuff that's been found in the labs. So one in particular was Checkpoint Labs had found a prompt injection where it's like just put some random sentence into an email, and then when the AI reads the email, it goes off and it executes the prompt injection or executes the executable. And then this is just taking it one step further. And then on top of that, what do we got? Grok just launched 4.6. So everybody's fighting with each other to get to the top. And you think, how quick is, like, we're just speeding up how quickly these things are being exploited because we're going straight down the frontiering path. And I think that a lot of people out there have FOMO over using it. I mean, if we did a poll of everyone who's using Claude and GPT and Grok and what's that one, Copilot from Microsoft, and I bet you everyone's got their set on default. It's like straight away everyone's on Opus 5 and they're going to be on Grok 4.6. Currently they're pulling 4.5 out of GitHub. Whatever, 5.6 now for ChatGPT. So we'll find that most users are on the most capable model, which is chewing their cookies as fast as possible. I'm saying cookies instead of tokens deliberately.
Okay.
And it is just a minefield out there of just how much people are trying to consume and the gamification of who can use the most tokens. It's almost like a dick slinging comp of who can actually bring up the biggest bill for doing the most meaningless tasks in some organizations we're speaking to. So
yeah,
I think it all goes back to what we were saying before, that it's like sense has been thrown out and social media echo chamber has made it that we all feel a sense of loss if we're not keeping up with everyone else. And I can't tell you how many conversations I hear where people are talking about new agentic things. Like someone will ask about Hermes or I want to do something in a VPS so it's always on. And it's like, do you even know what you just said? Or did you just hear someone say that around the water cooler and now you think that's the next thing to do? Or you're at a networking event and someone's like, oh, you should get this Frank AI. It does all my accounting for me. Like, you're really going to open up your Xero to this agent that you know nothing about? And I think that the research into using these models is nowhere near in proportion with the research that organizations have been putting into the security tool sets that they've got in place. And we're going to see that. Well, we're already seeing that come back to bite us.
Yeah, and the sense I'm getting, maybe back to you, Adam Cunningham, is a real asymmetry between the exploits in these models, and we're talking about Grok and Copilot in particular, and so weak defense versus just the ability to actually attack these models. So there seems to be a real asymmetry or imbalance between them. And would you agree that's what you're seeing? And what do you think about how do we kind of fight back and actually build up the defense side of things?
So I agree with you, first of all, and there's been a small boom in the vendor space in this specifically. So you've got vendors out now like Fastly and a few others that are out there, and their model, or they have a whole new proxy service for the front of LLMs now that will put all the protections in place for you, as well as the logging and visibility as to what's happening. There's a number of them out there as well. That was just the first one that came to my head. And this is kind of like the birth of a new industry. And this happens in security a lot. And we'll move forward very quickly with a product And as you know, developers think, how do we make the thing happen? Then how do we make the thing happen efficiently? And then by the time they've made it efficient, the security industry has come up with an external solution that you can add on to it to put the security on. And then they start to think about security, but they think about security from the perspective of what's left over after these guys have done their thing. And that's where we're at now. So unfortunately, to keep on top of things now, you've got the API security vendors and you've got the LLM security vendors that are putting basically a proxy in place, for lack of a better way of putting it, something in front of it that gets the information, cleans it, and then puts it back in again from there. Kind of like what a web application firewall has been doing for web apps for a long time now. And that's oversimplification, but ultimately what it's doing. And because of that, we've given a crutch to the industry where they don't have to think about security first when they're building these things for people. That's my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Adam Green, any other further thoughts on attack versus defense?
Yeah, so the difference here is it's one of the first times in history where the tool that is probably the most powerful tool available to mankind right now in the technology space is so ubiquitous. So when we've seen really powerful tools in the past, it's not as accessible for common use. So like you got to learn how to, if you want to be a hacker, you've got to learn all these different techniques and exploits and got to get into the stuff that we're not going to tell people how to do on this podcast. But there's a whole technique and strategy to it, and that's why it's a bit of an art. We're not saying it's art. We're saying it's bad. It's bad. But the LLMs are just completely ubiquitous. Anyone can have whatever they want. You can have an LLM, and you can have an LLM, and have 7 LLMs. And
Oprah.
It is so easy to get your hands on and so easy to feel like you're in God mode, but it's so easy to just fuck it up. And we've just made it so easy for people to bring it into an organization because of BYOD and the fact that it can we pass it through whichever way we want. It is the first time, I think, definitely in our careers, where we've seen something so powerful, so easily accessible and so destructive. But on the other side of the coin, used correctly, it is extremely powerful for defense as well.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, let's move on quickly to the final story. So this was about Google, who's acquired some data from the failed U.S. airline Spirit. Apparently, bid $10 million, not a lot, for a huge trove of de-identified data. Apparently, and we can certainly trust whoever de-identified it to make sure that they got rid of all personally identifiable information, don't we? So apparently they bought themselves 100 million emails, 500 million items from Microsoft Teams, 17 million OneDrive files, and 20.5 million items from SharePoint. They also have 30 million recorded customer service calls, and they have more than 15 million customer service chat records. 600,000 ServiceNow tickets are another element of the collection, along with 13.7 million active email addresses from Oracle's responsive marketing application, etc. So that's quite a bit of data they've got there. Again, apparently all de-identified. Apparently it's still subject to legal sign-off. But thoughts on I was also just diverging a little bit. We've seen quite a bit about how AWS and some other of these models have been buying up rare books, scanning them and destroying them. This one's a little bit, I guess, more serious in terms of personal information, although obviously it's pretty serious destroying rare and antique books. But what's your thoughts? Maybe we'll start with Adam Green about this sucking up of data. I mean, this idea that you could just buy, well, for $10 million, hundreds of millions of records, supposedly are de-identified, feed them into your model, and away you go. And this is probably just the tip of the iceberg, Adam Green. It
raises a concerning question, right? Every time a company goes defunct, what happens with their data?
Yeah.
And was it 42andU or something like that? One of those
23?
Ancestry.com type thing? Yeah.
Yeah. 23andU, I think it was, with all the genetic information.
All the genetic information. And it's like healthcare information is we hear, I don't know if it's hyperbole or not, but 10 to 50 times more valuable than the other, credit card data and licenses and things like that. And it's because you can't re-stamp your genome and you can't change your dental records. And you can do some quite awesome stuff with extortion when you've got people's details or medical records. So it does raise the question of how data is handled in the case of a company going into involuntary administration or voluntary administration. And it's just another thing that we need to consider in the world of cyberspace, right?
Yeah. Adam Cunningham, any
giving your
thoughts?
details to anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I have done talks with seniors in the education end of high school, and it's literally said, don't ever tell the truth online. Always lie. You should.
Just as well most people do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially
Like
on Instagram.
Even my internet banking doesn't have my right details. Like, you shouldn't have your details on anything. But this isn't actually...
I had people saying happy 21st birthday to me last year. Because Facebook was telling people I was 21, and I was like, they're just mindlessly saying happy birthday to me. It was hilarious.
It's interesting. But do you know what's very funny with that is because people actually know when your real birthday is, you can still do open source intelligence on someone's Facebook feed and find out their real date of birth. Which is terrifying. Yes. But this isn't actually new. And buying of this type of data has been happening for companies like Coca-Cola for like years so that they can get better understanding of demographics and people who are around in the areas so that they can do their marketing correctly. I mean, most people, I don't, but most people have a Facebook account and Facebook is worth billions of dollars, but most people have never paid a penny to Facebook. How do you think they're getting that kind of money? It's not just ads.
What was it? If it's free, it's you're the product? Is your
if it's free, you're the product. Correct. I've been saying that and trying to get that through to people for years. But no, seriously, like this model has been around for many, many years, since like the 70s, 60s, 70s, to be able to get information about your customers, for example, through other means. And this is basically what's happening now is they're just getting a whole bunch of information so that they can feed LLMs to get LLMs a little bit more context so that it can then regurgitate some extra stuff. And look, the security person in me, if I was still in the offensive security state, I would be super excited by this because I'll have a plethora of information that I can use against clients every day. And it is the reason why we have job security in this industry.
That's right. Keeps us all busy. All right. I think probably on that note, we should wrap it up for this week. Thank you, Adam Cunningham, Adam Green. And we'll leave it there for today. See you next time on Chat DPS.
Take care, everyone.
See those who are coming. See you at Realms of Cyber.
For sure.
Very good. Great plug.